Welcome, felons, fatales, and freaks, to the 73rd episode of an Unearthly Podcast. Streaming live on September 24, 2014, and featuring Time Heist by Stephen Thompson and Stephen Moffat. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
Hello.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Always a pleasure.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke.
Hello.
And Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Hey!
Kicking off the news today, Billie Piper, the bad wolf herself, turned 32 on Monday.
Yay.
Hey.
Hooray! Happy birthday to her.
Older than half of us, and yet younger than the other half of us.
Yeah, when she started on Doctor Who, she was younger than I am now.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was like, what?
How old was she when she started? Because it's now 14.
She would have been in her late 20s.
She would have been. It was
it's
9
9 years ago. She would have been about 23, depending on what whether you go off. Actually, by the time it aired, she would have been 23. She would have been 22 during the actual season.
Something like that.
23.
Because I think the season was over by this time of the year,
And
right?
she was playing what? 19.
I think they do refer to her as 19 at one point.
Yep.
So she was a couple years off, but not by much. And whoever's messing with their microphone, that's really loud.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the second time now, and the other time was in the middle of the credits.
Nah, I was muted in the middle of the credits.
Then it wasn't me because I was muted.
I was muted as well.
Tim. Jetson.
Timmy no scrunchy.
You said Tim, and my thought was to Tim Taylor getting yelled at.
Anywho.
And on to our next bit of news. The the guest cast for the upcoming Christmas special has been announced. They haven't
very interesting names, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't quite announced the companion cast, so the news article is saying the cast are a bit misleading because there's still argument over. Well, actually, no. We think we pretty much know.
They call it the guest cast. They call it the guest cast. But included
I'm looking at the headline you linked us to, where it just says the cast for the headline anyway.
I'm looking at the news article. It's the guest cast, and there's some interesting names in the guest cast, including Nick Frost, who you might know, who everyone will know as being teamed up from such movies as Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, The World's End, which means, of course, he's the big person of, and why is the name suddenly escaping me? Come on, he's Scotty.
Simon Pegg.
Now. Yeah, Simon Pegg.
I was going to say, is Nick Frost allowed to appear on screen without Pegg?
I don't know. Maybe Pegg's going to be in here in Doctor Who again, and they're not announcing it.
It's a secret to everybody.
It would be kind of interesting.
He was in there once before?
He was in season 1.
The very first season he played the editor in the first episode on Satellite 5.
And he also took over Doctor Who Confidential, I think, when they realized that David Tennant was going to be the next Doctor and couldn't be Confidential the whole season.
Yes. And also to appear is Michael Troughton.
That's a big one.
Who is the son of the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, and he has recently returned to acting.
I'm trying to remember if he's the son that I've seen before, because he has two sons, doesn't he?
I think so. I think only one of them's an actor, though, so it's probably the one you've seen.
Oh, okay, so he probably is the one that I've seen.
So let's actually
look up Michael. In which case, he looks like a taller version of his father.
Mm-hmm. Also included in the list, though not as interesting, is Natalie Gumede.
Wow, Michael does look a lot like his father. Sorry.
And Strictly Come Dancing. Faye Marze from Pride, The White Queen, and Fresh Meat, and Nathan McCullen from Misfits and Casualty. A lot of relatively well-known British programming.
Yeah, I just looked up Michael Troughton, and he looks a lot like his father.
I kind of hope they're going to use him to actually be the second Doctor.
That would be amazing.
Probably not, but it would be nice.
It would be unbelievably cool. I've always said that if they could get somebody to do Patrick Troughton's replacement, it should be Michael.
Yeah.
You put a freaking Beatles wig on Michael, and he would look enough like his father that it would be passable. And the fact that it's his son would get rid of a lot of the objections of people going, "Oh yeah, they just got a replacement actor."
As long as you use body doubles for the full body shots.
Oh?
I'm pretty sure there's a significant height difference.
Yeah.
As we were already aware about this episode, Stephen Moffat will be writing, and Paul Wilmshurst, who is doing a few episodes in the latter half of the season, will be returning as the director.
Okay. And, of course, it's being shot in Cardiff at the usual studios, I believe.
Of course.
Right.
Our next bit is on Kill the Moon, which I believe is that's 2 episodes from now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like we announced last week that The Caretaker was going to be delayed in the UK due to Strictly Come Dancing, so will Kill the Moon. It will be airing at... It's 8:30. I suspect this will become a regular thing.
Yeah.
I think if we see it one more time, we're probably going to stop news announcing it.
So become a regular problem as long as you keep putting out this rubbish television. Thank you, good night.
I think it's Strictly Come Dancing as a weekly thing then?
I think so. I think it just started a new season.
Ah. So shouldn't it, get behind, take its place behind Doctor Who and not...
Well, I think at this point they don't know how long each episode is going to air until it's filmed. So that might be what's causing the time delay.
In which case, they need to start yelling at the editors.
I don't know. Maybe they do Strictly Come Dancing uncut in the UK, and they only cut it here. I don't know. But whatever it is, they're actually announcing the time delays.
The synopsis for Kill the Moon is, in the near future, the Doctor and Clara find themselves on a space shuttle making a suicide mission to the moon. Crash landing on the lunar surface, they find a mining base full of corpses, vicious spider-like creatures poised to attack, and a terrible dilemma. When Clara turns to the Doctor for help, she gets the shock of her life. Now, to me, this sounds like a sequel to Apollo 18.
Now, maybe not, because also remember what we've been hearing about this season is that Clara will eventually leave the Doctor. This could be that turning point.
We should probably have warned that we were going to announce the synopsis. I don't know, spoilers.
No, it's
not spoilers. It's not giving away all the spoilers.
Now,
it's just giving basics.
Yeah.
Now, to be at least pseudo spoiler, at least in the news that we had before the season started, there was a lot of synopsises showing up that Clara and the Doctor would essentially be separate, and that Clara would be dealing with whatever problem on her own, and that would be
but
that's some sort of unspeakable evil type of thing. So
that's unverified news. We don't know that.
Or at least we don't know what source from that news is. I was never able to find a source for that.
I'm suspecting it by the way the series is going, and if so, this will probably be the linchpin episode that happens on.
I'm pretty sure that and again, these were unverified synopses, but I saw the same information on multiple sites, was that Mummy of the Orient Express was kind of the one where Clara decides that she will eventually need to leave the Doctor.
I
But I think that is the episode following Kill the Moon, so
I don't know.
It's right along the same path.
We won't know until we continue on, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. We're just guessing at this point, people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of wondering where on the moon's history this is set, because we've had, 2 Cybermen stories on the moon, plus the moon landing appear in Doctor Who so far.
Well, it's the most common celestial body closest to Earth, so therefore it's featured in quite a lot of stuff.
And it's not known to be inhabited by ice warriors, and the Inhumans haven't appeared in Doctor Who.
Hmm.
He's crossing his shows again.
Yeah, I'm ignoring it for now, so we can move on to the next article.
So next article.
Well, this has been something that's been fairly common, but it was on our news link, so we'll go over that. And that's each episode, essentially when each episode airs, the BBC has been putting out a photo gallery for the following episode. In this case, after Time Heist aired, BBC put out a photo gallery for The Caretaker, which is this coming. Okay, so yeah, that was right. We're going to count before.
I only included this as a news article because some of these pictures aren't in the trailer.
Okay.
I mean, a few of them are obviously production or
some of them are definitely publicity shots because they look like they're posing for a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the top 4 in particular.
The top 4, the 5th one could be there, or he could be posing for GQ. I'm not sure which. You want to take that picture and put the Bond theme on.
The one on the far left, I feel like the Doctor is about to, morph into something.
Well, that's the one I'm talking about, where I said he's posing for GQ, showing his new watch. Or either that, or he's about to use a James Bond stun dart on something.
Right?
Da 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 da.
Oh come on! You know you want to see a Sonic watch.
Anyway, okay, so these are the pictures.
I'm just
Here's
looking
the
at
link.
that image, and I'm just hearing Capaldi. It's morphing time.
Wouldn't he be holding onto his belt?
Depends on which set
show?
of powers.
Yeah, it depends upon which season.
Okay.
Anywho.
But there we see another picture of that big thing that we've been seeing in all the trailers from early on, the big robotic thing.
Yeah, which is presumably the Skovok Blitzer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big bad for this episode. What this has to do with Coal Hill School, we still don't know, but we'll find out in basically about half a week.
That we will.
Tune in next time.
Up next, Germany. Hi, Germany.
Yeah. So Germany has announced that they'll be airing The Caretaker at 8:30 p.m., which I'm pretty sure means an hour before Britain.
Roughly?
Actually, they're confirming that they're going to amend.
Never mind. Okay, never mind. I misread the first line. I was talking about the British 8:30.
Right. They're now amending their schedule to show the series at 9 p.m. European time.
Well, 9 p.m. is when they have been up until now. It looks like now they're going to be doing 9:30, so that they're at the same time as Britain.
Okay.
Yeah, 9 p.m. is what they've been doing, but then I think, but yeah, there was
9:30 p.m. Okay.
We had talked about British people possibly getting pissed off that Germany was going to get it 30 minutes before them. This is the response.
It's like, yeah, it's your show. Okay. They understand. We understand you don't want us to have your show before you, so we will put it back about half an hour.
British
Happy?
That is not a German accent.
I am allowed to do German accent.
That's Austrian.
Not quite. This is Austrian.
No, Arnold has his own accent. It's not even.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Before we piss off more of the audience. British.
All right, so now we go on to some viewing figures. For Time Heist, there were 4.93 with the overnight. That's Saturday and Saturday night, which is a total of 23.8% of the total television audience. Again, these are numbers in regarding British television. It was second for the day with ITV's The X Factor taking the lead with 8.4 million viewers. And it was aired opposite I'm assuming direct opposition means I'm not sure. Does direct opposition mean was aired opposite it, or does it mean that it was
at the same time as it?
BBC opposition. I'm going to assume
No, it means that it's direct. It's directly opposite of it. Okay. So that while Doctor Who's airing, X Factor's airing on ITV.
Well, in this case,
or excuse me, the Chase Celebrity Special.
Yeah. So that means the Chase Celebrity Special had about another 20% of the audience.
Now, what we are seeing here, the X Factor, I believe, airs like an hour or two earlier on ITV. Is that we're probably getting people that are watching the X Factor and then will change channels after the X Factor to watch Doctor Who. Whereas the Chase is, because
Is the Chase also ITV?
What?
Is
yes.
the Chase also ITV? So half of them kept on ITV to watch the next show.
Correct. And some of them probably went. We'd also have to see what was in the BBC slot at the same time. Probably football. Just saying. And by that I mean association football, what we call soccer.
Yeah.
You mean during X Factor?
Well, X Factor is going on ITV, yes.
Well, it's the hour before it, isn't it? So that would be Strictly Come Dancing.
It's somewhere earlier in the day. I'm not quite sure when.
Oh yeah, he's right. If it is in the hour before, then it would be Strictly Come Dancing, which wasn't even mentioned in the ratings. So I don't know.
Well, Strictly Come Dancing isn't starting until next week.
Oh, okay, that's starting this Saturday.
Yes.
All right.
That started last week.
That may cause a huge change in the viewing figures.
But anyway.
Because if I remember correctly, that's fairly popular in England.
Doctor Who seems to have dropped in Australia with Time Heist. Up until now, it's been the second highest rated drama and the 9th highest program overall in both cities and rural areas. Whereas this time it's still the second highest drama, but it was the 10th highest overall. So something that was not a drama seems to have crept in the middle there.
Actually, wasn't it 11th last week?
I think it was 11th in some other category other than the regular viewings, but I forget what. Either that or it was like 9th in one and 11th in the other.
I think it was 11th last week, and it was 9th the 2 weeks before.
But
so it's gone up a spot.
I think there was a huge drop last week, and it picked up for this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was 11th in both, though. I thought it might have been like 9th in general and 11th in the cities only or something like that.
I just remember it's one of the big numbers that we were always constantly crunching over.
It was the 12th highest rating last week for listen.
In both categories?
600 in the 5 major capital cities, and was the 12th highest rating overall in the big cities.
Overall, yeah. So it fell a huge amount of spots, and now it's picked up 2 again.
Yep.
Okay.
So Heist is making a big return for it again.
Yep. Putting it back in that.
All right. Appreciation index for Time Heist was 84, which I think puts it tied with the top of the season.
Which was Deep Breath.
Was it Deep Breath?
Yeah, because it was 84, 82, 82, 82, now 84.
Yay!
Which is interesting because I'm pretty sure Into the Dalek seems to have a general more positive buzz than Deep Breath.
But
actually, yeah, it kind of does.
The appreciation index for it, though, was 2 points lower.
Yeah.
Maybe people have revised that thought since then, but mind you, the audience appreciation index is only the UK, too.
Yeah, true.
So Into the Dalek might have a better international appeal.
There's also the fact that I know some of the articles we posted have included Sunday AIs, which we haven't really mentioned but have been significantly higher. So basically the people who wait until Sunday and then watch Doctor Who seem to be the ones that really like it, whereas a lot of people that are watching on Saturday were probably just people home on Saturday that watched Doctor Who because it was the biggest thing on.
Either way, I'm happy to see that Time Heist is doing good.
Me too.
We'll be talking more about that later. So, next.
Listen's final numbers are in. It was the 7th most watched British program for the week ending 14 September and had 7 million viewers. So it's down by maybe, a few percentage points of what it's been, but still less than, it's not a great drop. It's been from Deep Breath to now, I think we went from 7.3 for the week to 7 altogether for the week. So we're still around, still above 7 million, just barely.
So it's still
And
hanging
it'll
in there.
probably pick up for the last 3 episodes of the season.
Although
so.
this is significant, because this is the first series where, on Final Figures, the first 4 episodes have all reached the top 10. Usually, it's dipped out of the top 10 by this time.
And I
And
have
it
to admit
hasn't.
that while we have had our very nasty nitpicks, especially with Listen, they have been, at least for the most part, been middle of the road. And about this point last year, they royally sucked.
Mm,
They had
depends
suck
on
middle
if
of
you're
road, suck
referring to
middle
the
of road.
first or second half.
This time last year we had no episodes, and then came Day of the Doctor.
Yeah, which was...
Well,
hadn't
I'm
had
saying
a
this
great
far
episode
into
ever.
the season last year.
Yeah, I was just referring if you're referring to 7A or 7B. Because 7B generally stayed mediocre until you hit Journey.
Oh no, it was kind of a downward slope for me until we hit Journey, then just hit rock bottom.
Now, the article points out that the longest run of stories in the top 10 was from Midnight, which was the, I think, 4th to last of Series 4 in June of 2008, to The Beast Below, which was the 2nd episode of Series 5 in April 2010, which was a run of 11 episodes spanning over 2 years, but a large majority of them were holiday specials. Not majority, well, possibly a majority. A large number of them were holiday specials.
A couple of them only were holiday specials. Not that many. I think there's only 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
No, there was every episode in 2009 was a holiday special.
That's not this season, though. You're thinking the wrong year.
No, I'm not, because I'm talking from June 2008 to April 2010.
Beast Below, that was part of the non-special year.
Beast Below was the second. Beast Below was 2010, so the 11 episodes before that would include The End of Time, The Next Doctor, Waters of Mars. All those holiday specials would be included in that 11-episode run.
Yeah, and currently we are on a 7-episode run in finals now, as being top 10 episodes. So that includes Name of the Doctor, Day of the Doctor, Time of the Doctor, Deep Breath, Into the Dalek, Robot of Sherwood, and Listen have all been in the UK's top 10.
So it only needs 3 more in order to tie it, and then 1 more to break it.
And
Yes.
Based on the numbers we've seen, we haven't seen weekly numbers, but based on the AIs and everything else, I would not be surprised if Time Heist continues the trend.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
Oh yeah, I would not be surprised either. So I'm pretty sure they've got 8 in the bag already.
All right. Our
Next
bit here, we have some more Deep Breath news. I don't know what Live Plus 7 is. Is that a channel?
No. Live Plus 7 figures are including not only the ones that are watching the BBC broadcast, those who watch the time shift broadcast later on, but also those who watch the repeats on like BBC 3 and BBC 2, and those who watch it on iPlayer.
So it's everything.
It's not the cinema. These don't include the cinema numbers.
Oh yeah,
These
it doesn't
are
include all the movie numbers, but this is otherwise everything that was aired on TV for Britain.
Okay,
Correct.
so this is basically saying everyone who watched Deep Breath through the BBC in the past
Since it aired.
month.
Yeah, and I think Deep Breath just left iPlayer. The last viewing for iPlayer has ended now.
Okay.
So these are the absolute final figures.
Well, I don't know
Until
how
they actually repeat it sometime
how
later,
often
but this is it for now, for a long time.
These also include individuals. So people that watched it on all of the above are only counted once.
So it's giving us a number of 10.76 million people who have watched Deep Breath 1 or more times, British numbers, in the past month.
Yes. This is including 6.807 million who watched it live or watched it the same day. .456 million who watched it on a repeat on another channel, 2.525 million who watched it on a time shift, and 0.971 who watched it on iPlayer. So that's a kind of an interesting breakdown there. It's still the vast majority of people are watching it first run.
But again, that was also the premiere, so that's a lot of people who took time out of their schedules, like we did, to go watch it. Whereas, I'm curious to see if we get these numbers all season, because I feel like the iPlayer and the repeat numbers will both go up, whereas the same day numbers will keep going down. I mean, we've already seen that in the numbers we were covering, at least with the same day and the repeat. So I'm assuming iPlayer will also follow the trend of going up as the same day goes down.
It'll be interesting to see. One of the things it does mention is that more people. BBC also keeps an average of people who watches stuff on this, and the numbers tend to be higher for people watching Doctor Who. The average iPlayer watcher for a BBC program is 3%, and 9% watched it here.
Does time shift? When they say time shift, are they referring to DVR in this situation? That's what it looks like, and I didn't think that before. But looking at that sentence, I'm kind of thinking it might be.
It's possible. I'm not sure how their recording works, but
I'm not sure what they call it either. So,
I'll have to look that up and maybe get back to us on another podcast.
Alrighty.
That would also explain why the Australia's, top 5 major cities, not counting time shift viewers, might actually just mean people watching it live and not over DVR.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
like I said, I'll look it up.
All 5 of their major cities are on the East Coast.
Anywho,
moving on.
Dragging our feet on that one.
Bit of news is the Matt Smith Blu-ray gift set.
This is United
one
States
that was previously
release.
released in the United. Oh, okay.
Ooh.
This is a U.S. release.
Oh, that's right, because we just finished Matt Smith years. We couldn't have had it out before.
Right, they'd had the David Tennant years before, but I believe the David Tennant years was a DVD collection.
Yeah.
They've gone ahead and moved this one up to a Blu-ray gift set. It will be released for a holiday release this year on November 4th.
Of course.
Of course, gotta wring the money out of the David Tennant fans.
Matt Smith?
Or Matt Smith fans, whatever.
This includes every season, every special, every episode. It includes, for the very first time on a special bonus disc, the Proms 2013, Day of the Doctor from Script to Screen, the Five-ish Doctors reboot, and Doctor Who: The Ultimate Guide.
Sweet.
It also includes the 2-part special, The Sarah Jane Adventures, The Death of the Doctor, and the docudrama An Adventure in Time and Space.
I'm curious if the minisodes and all that, Pond Life, Time and Space.
There's not much of it.
The nights and everything, if they're going to be included as features or not. They're not mentioned.
As they say, every special, I would think so.
They're not really. A special usually means a special episode rather than
just a tiny little segment.
I mean, I think it's most likely they would be, because they were on, that was the main thing, was that they were DVD, Blu-ray exclusives that you couldn't find on TV. So you'd think they'd be in the Blu-ray gift set, but they don't mention it.
But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I am. I'll be interested to know as well. I'm also interested to see. It looks like, by the way, that this price currently on Amazon is $134.04.
You wonder why I collect things by season instead of huge sets like that.
Well, this is a collector's set because it also has all these extras, which the season sets did not.
In other words, if you bought the the 6 season or 7 season box set, this is Moffat's version of
Yeah. I'm kind of wondering what all else is included in this, because I bought most of this piecemeal, so.
Oh well.
By the way, I just kind of realized this, so it's kind of worth noting. The Sarah Jane Adventures episode, "The Death of the Doctor," is I think the only Russell T Davies penned appearance of Matt Smith.
Yes, I think so. It was also a very good episode, and one I tend to rewatch whenever I can, because it not only had, of course, Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith, but it also had Joe Grant. Yes.
And I think that might have been the one
that
they
role for
wanted
the first
to.
time.
I think that might have been the one where they were intending to include Ace, but never got around to it. Unless I'm thinking of just future planned episodes that never got filmed.
It also included one piece of misinformation that the fans had clung on to. And
yes.
One of the children asked the doctor how many times can he regenerate. He said something like 516, but he was being facetious.
One day, our descendants are going to be watching that episode. The 516th Doctor. What comes next?
Hopefully, whoever gets to write that episode will be doing a better job than Stephen Moffat.
Hopefully.
Okay, moving on. And this is for UK people, I believe. And that is an adjustment to the DVD release of The Two Doctors. Previous versions of this DVD had included the special from the series Jim'll Fix It. Due to a licensing issue that's cropped up, all future DVDs are not going to include this special, and in fact, I think the last batch did not. They had been getting complaints, and now the official statement is because of these legal issues, that special is not going to be on there. I'm curious to see if my own copy of the US version actually has that special.
And apparently now they're changing the boxes to reflect that, as they apparently had not done so before.
Yeah, it's a re-release, repressing. They're basically I think they changed the box art anyway. So if you have the one that's being shown, it's not going to have that special. But trust me, you're not missing much.
They know that most online retailers still list the extra in general, and that if it matters to you, you should really contact whoever you're buying it from to find out which version they're actually offering.
Yep, and if you're really, really looking for it, check eBay.
I imagine that a fix with Centaurans is not one of those things that's going to be skyrocketing to hundreds of dollars on eBay.
No.
At least I hope not.
You never know.
Again, people are cuckoo.
If you're enough of a Colin Baker fan to spend hundreds of dollars, just go to bigfinish.com.
He's got better stuff there.
Moving on.
Tom Baker and happiness.
Yes, this is an announcement from Tom Baker via his website that there is a new way to obtain autographs from him. He will no longer accept requests sent through his agents, as the demand for those have become unmanageable. Probably since his appearance in Day of the Doctor, that has probably gone through the roof.
Probably.
However, fans can now purchase his autographs from his website, with 10% of the proceeds being donated to St. Michael's Hospice in St. Leonards-on-Sea, East Sussex. As well as signing cards and photographs, Baker will sign personal paper-based items such as video DVDs, CD covers, photos, or any other picture of himself if you want an autograph for your collection. Or if you want a copy of his autobiography or The Boy Who Kicked Pigs, please do not send the books, send just the dust jacket. You can find out more about this at tombakerofficial.com/autographs.
I'm loading it up now, and it looks like he's actually not charging as much as he could for these. So the prices are, reasonable as photos and such go. It looks like about £5 or $8 for a small photograph, It, of course, increases the bigger the item and for other things. It looks like they're autographed art prints for a few $100s, but they're collector's items in addition to the autograph. And then if you send your own thing in, it's $16.59. That's US dollars. If it's a postcard size, actually,
There's
what's
a drop-down menu actually that changes it for you on the website.
Yeah. Yes, that's
Yeah,
that's getting these.
He accepts
A4,
Australian,
that's-
Canadian, euros, New Zealand dollar, pound sterling, and the US dollar. How
A4,
the UK has managed to be part of the European community and keep their own currency, I don't know.
because they're the damn UK. A4, that's a paper size, but I couldn't tell you what paper size.
It's approximately, but not quite
Mass market
standard letter size. Yeah.
standard. Okay, so
Yeah, it's a little bit longer, I think, but that's just because of their sizing differences.
So, as of right now, a postcard size personal item and an A4 size personal item are the same price for an autograph. I imagine that this is limited time and that the bigger items will probably see an increase in the future. But as of right now, they're each $16.59 US dollars. So my recommendation is if you want Tom Baker to sign something of yours, go for it now.
I don't think I have anything with him on it, other than the 5 Doctors, and he's really not in that. Damn.
I still haven't unwrapped my copy of
Ooh.
Light at the End.
I still have my action figure of him, though. It's still vintage.
Ooh.
I don't think he can sign that, though.
You can still sign the case for it.
But apparently, no, you can actually purchase photos for him to sign and deliver on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the basic idea, is that a lot of this is photos that he can easily sign and mail back
Oh, that's
to you.
true. Yeah, if I tried to send him an unopened wrapped package to sign, that would not work very well. But it doesn't really mention if he's. Well, actually, there's a picture of a CD there, so I'm assuming at least I think it's a CD. Is that a CD?
There
anyone
looks to
else-
be like some sort of CD in there, yeah, so I wouldn't
Oh,
be
never
surprised
mind.
if
One of those is, I think, a Big Finish story. So if
Yeah.
that's it signs Big Finish stories.
yeah,
So yeah, maybe I should try to collect all the Doctor's autographs on my copy of Light at the End.
That'd be awesome.
that'd be kind of cool.
Pretty cool.
And our next bit of news here, I think it's our last one. Oh no,
Second
there's
last.
there's one more that for some reason my browser didn't open when I asked it to.
Okay, so all right, there's 2 items here, mostly dealing with merchandise for people in the UK. The first one is a limited time special event going on at Hamley's Toy Store in the various locations around the UK, and that is the fact that Character Options, the company that does the Doctor Who action figures, is releasing a series of limited collector's edition posters. These posters are made to celebrate the latest series of Doctor Who figurines, and including the 12th Doctor. To be eligible to get one of these, you must purchase an item from Hamley's Doctor Who collection. The posters are available as a free gift with purchase, only while supplies last. There is no minimum spending, but the gifts is unique and is restricted to 1 per customer. Posters will be available from the following stores on the selected dates. London, Regent Street, 20th September from 9:30 in the morning. Manchester, 20th September from 9:30. Glasgow, 20th September from 9 a.m. Cardiff, 27th September from 9:30. And Dublin, 28th September from 10 a.m. If you are a collector of Doctor Who memorabilia, you probably want to go to one of these stores and get one of these items. Like I said, they're limited supplies, last only items. They'll only go up in value.
And actually, 3 of those are already passed, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
probably, but some of them have not.
Yeah, Cardiff and Dublin are still in the waits, guys. On your marks, get ready.
So if you hadn't heard about this and you're hearing it from us now, plan a trip to Wales, plan a trip to Dublin, go there, buy something, get your poster. There'll probably be lines.
Yeah, you might want to start camping.
You might want to camp out now. Or at least find a handy time rift if you're planning to skip ahead the line in Cardiff.
Plan a nice caravan trip to Wales.
And watch out because there might be people trying to destroy your caravan. Just saying.
I don't know. Oh, that's right. They are filming Top Gear at the moment. You might want to.
Wonder if any of them will show up in the hot
final
air
news
balloon
item.
caravan.
Our final news item is the release of a Doctor Who art book. These were basically comic strip arts used in the Doctor Who magazine from its Marvel Comics era. These were art done by Tim Quinn and Dickie Howitt. They have compiled an entire book of these comics and are available from Milk Publishing. All strips will have commentary on what they were thinking at the time. It will be available as a limited edition A4 hardback and a standard A4 paperback. They will be donating £1 for every copy sold to Giggle Doctor's Theodora Children's Trust. Does it give a release date for that?
No, I'm not seeing anything.
For Americans wondering what this is about, think kind of like their quick 3-panel comics like you'd used to see in Mad Magazine.
They're not going to have a release date yet because apparently they're still collecting the artwork for it.
Ah.
If you have a
So
piece...
they just announced that it will be coming out.
Yeah.
Just that it will be coming out. They're just not sure when at the moment.
So if you're interested in buying it, get ready. And if you have some of his artwork that was sold or given away that they don't have access to, contact them if you're willing to scan it to be included in the book.
Pretty pleased with sugar on top. You might get credits for it too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, might get a thank you in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Probably get a free copy.
That too.
That too, yeah.
Anyway, that concludes our news for this week. There are no deaths this week.
Thank goodness.
Hooray.
That was wood, by the way.
And so we are moving on to Time Heist. Anybody but me just want to do the summary?
I technically did it last week.
Okay. That's fine. I kind of started half writing one, but Bill was having internet problems and then flagged me down to do the news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
luckily,
with that amount of news, it actually took some time.
Started streaming.
So, alrighty. After you, Randy.
Okay. So I have this half written. I will then proceed to wing the rest. Okay, so the episode starts with Clara getting ready for a date, presumably with Danny Pink, while the Doctor looks on and makes commentary. He wants to go out adventuring and names a number of places, and she states she can't make it. She's just about to head out when the TARDIS phone rings. No, not the phone in the TARDIS, the one in the cubby hole on the outside. You'd think one is the extension of the other, but apparently not, as the Doctor comments only a handful of people in the universe has that number. When Clara remarks she did, the Doctor reminds her she got it from a lady in a shop, something he's still suspicious of. Clara begs him not to answer it, as that always leads to trouble, but the Doctor replies with his version of what could possibly go wrong. Bam! The second he picks up the phone, things seem to skip, and the Doctor and Clara find themselves in a room holding on to worms. Viewers of the last couple of years will remember the worms as being memory worms, first seen in The Snowmen in Christmas 2012. After dropping the worms, Clara looks around and notices that they are not alone. 2 other people are in the room with them. A man with some cybernetic prosthesis on his head, and a woman that is hooded. And for a moment, Clara seems to think that her face looks a little bit like the worm. She has bits sticking out that suddenly retract. Before she can pursue this, however, the person asks who she is, and a recording comes up stating, "I am the Doctor, I am from Gallifrey, da-da-da, and I have approved of this memory wipe." It then goes down and mentions the same thing for all 4. The man is listed as a, was it cybernetically augmented human?
Mm-hmm.
And she is
Something
listed
like that, yeah.
and she is listed as a mutant human. They are then proceeded to be greeted by a person called the Architect, who is telling them that they must now rob the bank of... What was the name of this bank?
Calabraxis, yeah.
Calabraxis.
I almost said Castroverus.
Basically, the universe's equivalent of Fort Knox, only worse. As the details are begun, they receive a couple of small items, but before the details can go any further, they are interrupted by somebody knocking on their door, demanding entrance. They slip out the back way. Clara confronts the young lady about her face changing, and she admits she is a mutant, apparently of the Marvel Comics X-Men variety, and her ability is that she can assume the shape of any biological form she touches. She had been touching the worm, therefore she looked like the worm. So, Mystique, but with touching.
Mm-hmm.
One of the items that they received was some biological... biomatter from somebody, which they used to change her shape into basically one of the bank's customers. While this is going on, the bank manager receives contact that the security guards that were sent to check on / interrogate these people can't find them, but have found some interesting worms. Concerned by this, she goes and releases something called the Teller, who we don't see as of yet. They go. The main crew go out into the bank proper with the young woman, Sabira, I believe her name was Cybra, masquerading as this person. But the alarms go off, and soon out comes the bank manager with the Teller, which looks like a cross between a creature from Star Wars and a Kodan gunner from The Last Starfighter.
Kind of, yeah.
Thinking that they were onto him, they all freeze up, but instead of them, it goes to another man who is apparently also guilty of doing something illegal. And the creature, the Teller, mentally scans him and finds his guilt, and then proceeds to turn his brain into soup, as the doctor calls it, literally creating a hollow in his head, regardless of the fact that there should have been a skull there. What's left of the man is then carted off to parts unknown, and everything returns to normal. The doctor and crew decide that if they're going to do this, they should do this as quickly as possible. Thus begins their trek through this bank, with security hot on their heels as they go through a series of minor challenges, finding devices here and there from the Architect's master plan, including a bomb to get them into the inner workings, 6 devices which the doctor will later identify to be a alternate escape route, i.e. Suicide injectors, and basically the plans on how to get into the main vault. During the process, they are pursued and wind up in the main room with the cage where the Teller is left in hibernation when he's not needed, but unfortunately does not remain such. Sabira is caught in the Teller's scan and gives her the devices, an atomic disintegrator, he says, and she uses it to off herself before she can be soupified. The doctor and them proceed onward and proceed to try to hack the main vault door. Unfortunately, the Teller is hot on their trail. They're forced to split up, and Clara is pretty soon picked up by the Teller. In order to save her life, the man, Sai, who had erased his own memories to protect loved ones when he was caught by authorities before, decides to quickly bring up the memory of every bank robber and criminal that he could find in the database, therefore establishing a guilt trail that the Teller could immediately home in on. And then he uses his own suicide device, leaving the Teller once again without any true victim. Unfortunately, he did this slightly too soon, and the bank vault is still closed. However, at the same time, I believe solar flares were going on that was basically going to disrupt the entire, solar storms that was going to disrupt the entire operation of the bank. The Doctor and Clara used this to get into the vault, locate the 2 safe boxes indicated by the architect on one of the lists, which were a device that could restore Psi's memories and another formula to stabilize Sabira's genetics. However, they looked for the final safe box that they were looking for, the private vault by the bank's main manager. And as entering it, they discover that Miss Delphox is actually inside. Or, excuse me, Miss Delphox is the manager. The director, Karabraxos, is in residence, who is exactly, actually, Miss Delphox, or more to the point, Miss Delphox is a clone of director Karabraxos. So she takes goods that she's basically planning to abscond with and leaves, ordering her guards to kill the Doctor and Clara. However, the guards turn out to be Sabira and Psi in disguise, because the disintegrators were actually teleporters to an off-world spacecraft where the Doctor's TARDIS, which had been missing since the whole shift in the beginning, was. The Doctor gives the 2 of them their reward, but still has to find what he's looking for. However, it's easy to find that without Karabraxos, the teller is still free. As they get into the private vault, the teller comes in, and the Doctor realizes that the only way to actually know what they're going on is the fact that he needs to be superfied. He also has come to the realization that he is the architect, and he did all this. So he lets the teller scan his mind and discovers that basically director Karabraxos had left him was the one that placed the phone call asking him to come back and reset things. He had given the director his number when he realized that he was the architect, thus creating a loop. The reason that all this was going on and what they were there, this was not a bank robbery, this was a rescue mission, because the only other member of the teller species was in the vault behind the director's office. They all then escape in the shuttle, and the Doctor drops the teller and the other member of their species off on their home world.
Actually, no, it's not their home world. It's a world without any other higher life forms, so that way they can have clear heads for the rest of their lives, essentially.
Their new home world.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, then he returns to Clara's flat moments after they had left to allow Clara to go on her date, and ends the conversation with, "Robbing an entire bank. Beat that." Okay, so the episode. We still have about an hour to discuss it. Awesome.
The way you said it in the beginning, I was trying not to interrupt you. We were about to be like, "I am the Doctor, and I approve this message." And I just had to comment.
Anyway. I would have actually said that. I would have found it amusing for the summary. I am trying to find... I need to write these ahead of time because they're more amusing if I can actually write them up and add them.
Yeah, like that one area where if you had gone a little bit in either direction, it could have either been a Matt Smith ramble or a Tennant. When
I'm also trying to get them done in as fast as I possibly can.
Sure.
Because we don't need to spend 15 to 20 minutes doing the summary. Anyway, sure. During the course of the last few weeks, we have talked about the fact that we had read these scripts for these episodes ahead of time as they were leaked. This is the last of the leaked scripts and my personal favorite.
And I can honestly see why.
For the record, the order of the scripts that I liked from good to bad is Time Heist, Into the Dalek, Robot of Sherwood, Deep Breath, and Listen.
Echo.
Who's echoing?
I think Tim.
Echoing.
Testing.
Testing.
Anyway.
Not happening anymore.
Okay. Anyway. So we went from the worst, in my opinion, to the best. And while some of the things that went from the writing to the video, I didn't like the way some of the special effects were done, I still think this is my favorite of the episodes.
I see that they cheated in a couple of spots, and to be honest, if they're going to try and do this in a budget, I can understand, especially also if they don't have the time to get all the effects done properly. I'd rather they cheated than they actually put on something really sloppy and ugly looking.
This does feel like the most self-contained while being entertaining story of the bunch so far. I mean, Robot of Sherwood is probably next after that, but this is a very, it's a one-off story that, it's something you can't do a lot of, you can't do a lot of bank heists in Doctor Who, but doing one in an interesting setting as a one-off story, it comes off very strong for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about this episode is, Listen is the only episode of the bunch that actually makes me angry. Deep Breath makes me roll my eyes a lot.
Yeah.
Listen makes me angry, especially the ending. This one, when I started reading it, I was angry. And then I hit the ending, and when everything clicked and made sense, I went, okay, this now is awesome.
Yeah.
Because I go into this...
I think you're definitely supposed to spend a good portion of the episode, like, why would the Doctor and Clara ever agree to this? But
why would they agree to rob a bank? I'm sitting here reading this, wondering this. And the fact that this came from the pen of Stephen Thompson, the man who brought us Journey to the Center of the TARDIS.
Right.
He's trying desperately hard to redeem himself here, and I think he probably pulled it off.
So, yeah, he's now, with this episode, I think he's moving up to an average rating in my book.
Yeah.
Well, this is also, I mean, like several of the recent episodes we've got, or at least, trying to remember which, I think Like Into the Dalek was written to be rewritten, so it's really hard to tell. I mean, it's probably not impossible if you look very closely, but there's, this is an and script, so there's a good amount of Moffat in here. You probably have to look very closely.
I don't know. The original leaked script did not have Moffat's name on it.
Yeah, the Anna Moffat was a last-minute addition, so apparently he must have added maybe a line or two here or there.
Because I didn't really see that much different from the script.
No, I don't think they changed, but I mean, I if you notice, Into the Dalek in the leaked version did not say and Stephen Moffat either. So I think eventually, eventually at some point they just decided, okay, these are episodes where Moffat did enough rewrites that his name should be on the credits. Either that or his head is just getting really big.
I don't know.
Could be both.
I don't know. This particular episode, other than the fact that it's got a bootstrap paradox that can be explained out of, by the way. That's the only thing in there that has any smell of Moffat.
Yeah.
I mean, at best, Moffat might have written the whole Clara getting ready for the date thing before this.
Maybe. Yeah, that does seem like something that he would be planning ahead of time.
That is the first and last scene might have been Moffat.
Yeah,
everything else doesn't feel like Moffat.
And those are most likely the things that he probably would have edited the most just to make references to other things going on in the season.
Okay, everybody that's watched this episode recently, well, of course, I mean, like since Saturday, did the Doctor at any point during the episode make fun of Clara's figure?
That's a good question. Other than making, I think, I'm pretty sure he. I'm trying to remember.
I think he made some sort of slight comment at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the beginning he says something, that has at least not necessarily the wording, but the idea behind it being, oh, you're going out like that.
Okay, and
like in
like
some
I
other
said,
way
that-
insult that she's wearing.
That's probably the Moffat part of the script, as I said.
Yeah.
Moffat wrote anything, it would be that scene and the end scene.
I feel like when you get to the point where the doctor starts talking about how much he hates the architect, from there on, I feel like it was probably Moffat.
I don't know.
No, he mentions he hates the architect a lot through the
No, but I
script,
mean, like the big revelatory rant.
where
No,
he realizes
again, that
he
could
is
have just
the
been
architect.
easily part of the script to begin with. At least most of it. That's not necessarily Moffat. Again, we would actually have to have in front of us what the original script was and what the after Moffat editions script is, in order to actually know. The rest of it's all guesswork.
That's
Otherwise,
assuming that there was a complete script before Moffat went into it, and they didn't write it completely collaboratively.
I'm also wondering if Journey to the Center, if what we have been seeing might not have necessarily been a lack of script control, but an overabundance of script control. Was Journey to the Center of the TARDIS bad because Moffat didn't look at it,
or because
Moffat
he hammered it too much?
much into it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because it seems like only this season he's starting to get ego about the stuff that he edits.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of wondering now too if maybe he was hammering it too hard with the fix hammer last season.
If Journey was the case of too many cooks spoiled the broth, or if Stephen Thompson is just a bad writer that Moffat just had to take and redone the script. If so, why did he feel the need to redo Phil Ford's? Again, we won't know unless the original scripts are ever.
And with Ford's, it's pretty easy to say he wanted to introduce Danny, and that's pretty easy to see, and look at. Whereas this is is Danny even in this episode, or is he like maybe one or two? He's not even in it. Yeah. So
no, I mean it starts with Clara about to go on a date,
right?
Not mentioned by name, because Clara's still not telling the doctor the name of the person she's dating.
Of course, yeah.
And it ends with her leaving the TARDIS to go on said date. She mentions, of course, that she's about to eat twice. Because they went Chinese, and then she's going to go for this dinner date. But, so...
It's Chinese. You'll be hungry 5 minutes later anyway.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to tell where Moffat would have placed anything, because there also wasn't an appearance from What's-Her-Face.
Oh, yeah.
Yandere Mary Poppins. Or Yandere Poppins, as I started calling her.
That's because nobody died.
Yeah, technically nobody died in this episode, yeah.
Well, a few people died.
But no one directly related to the doctor, though.
Nobody who we knew died.
Yeah. More to the point, we should say the doctor didn't kill anybody.
Or have anyone related to him in this
didn't
particular
kill
story
Gretchen,
get
and
killed.
I thought we got a scene with her and Missy.
Possibly. Anyway, but yeah, so there's none of that in there, and the majority of this episode is the main plot. Something that I like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I liked also that if you watch very carefully, you can see little homages to other heist movies, too, throughout.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were talking about doing the bump, I was torn between Mission Impossible and Ocean's 11. We went with the Mission Impossible for the bump because it was more recognizable.
Yes. And I would have to agree with that.
I would have to say this does seem to be a bit more Oceans than Mission Impossible.
But then again, with the heightened security of such a place and the means to try and get around it, kind of almost goes to Mission Impossible levels.
Mm-hmm. It does kind of feel like it. I mean, they're basically attacking the most impregnable vault in the universe with security so tight. Oh, by the way, apparently, as mankind evolves and moves out to the stars, apparently one of the things we also abolished is due process. You noticed how so many of the vault security features were absolutely fatal
Yep.
and obscenely
If you
so.
have enough money, due process doesn't apply to you. And if you don't have enough money, you don't belong on that planet.
True.
So this is one of those
He who
world-
has the gold makes the rules, to quote Aladdin.
This would probably be a Magrathea world then.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, actually, that makes sense considering, the entire world is a bank.
Yeah, bank world. All your financial themes come true. Magrathea.
Yeah.
God, you would think you'd think it'd be full of Ferengi. Just saying, you know. The bank world's a Ferenginar.
If you
Anyway.
watch very closely in the background.
I'm sure if Russell did this episode, there would have been at least one. No, I'm not a Ferengi for legal reasons. Walking through.
That would be awesome.
And we would love him more for it.
Yes, yeah, we probably would. So, okay, the supporting characters of Cybra and God, I'm forgetting his name already.
So, yeah.
I call them Mystique and Cyborg.
Mystique and Cyborg.
Actually, those aren't bad nicknames.
No, they're not. Okay, Mystique and Cyborg. We'll call them Mystique and Cyborg for the duration of this podcast now.
Because it
What did you
would be
think of
easier
them?
for us to remember.
What did you think of them? How they were acted, the characters themselves?
I loved them. They're the best side
I-
characters we've had in a very long time.
I honestly, and this is probably just a personal thing because part of what I liked was in the script was how exotic it was, for a Doctor Who episode that it stands out. And similarly, I kind of feel that the two supporting cast members were a bit more normal than I would have wanted them. I kind of feel, I kind of wish they stood out as characters a bit more in terms of their oddities and her mutantness, his cyborgness, if they had stood out, their personalities as well, with that. Like if they had just stood out as being,
I don't know.
more different.
I think you're missing them completely for whatever reason. But then again, you blinked out during their important parts.
And like I said, I'm not completely disliking it, but I feel I would have liked it a bit more if they had been odder, more comic book.
Well, it's not just the look of them, though, Bill, and the fact that you kind of
No,
the last half of this
they're what they
episode is a
have to
haste to is probably what's affecting your opinion of them
last
too.
half of the episode they weren't in; they were fake dead.
No, they were definitely in the last half.
They were kind of out for a good chunk of it, though.
Not all of it.
I
out.
actually like Journey Blue better, to be honest.
Who's Journey
I kind
Blue?
Of felt
Journey
Yeah,
Blue is
remember- from Into the Dalek.
Oh,
That's the
I
one
was
that
really
you
hoping
not
that
made
she
a
would join
companion.
the TARDIS.
see, I've already forgotten her.
I can't.
And like I said, it's
Like, she's
it's not
one-
like I feel they were. It's not like I feel they were bad characters. I just would have liked maybe something a little less realistic, a little more sci-fi. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
I don't think they have the budget for it at the moment.
True, and that's
I'm
what
not sure about the budget, and also it isn't really necessary, to be honest, either.
I
You
don't
can
know.
kind of tell.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not saying that it kills them. I'm just saying the way I saw them in my head and the way that I would have enjoyed them more would be, for example, I just brought up X-Men and Justice League characters that are both much more elaborate than they are with the same shticks.
Yet they're
that's-
also having a longer series to actually flesh them out, so
True
the
as
point's
well.
moot.
Yeah,
Well-
these are time costumes, and I just
Psy is
like-
not meant to be a full-on cyborg. He's more of like a cyberpunk person with a head deck.
Yeah.
He doesn't. His limbs.
which
His
is why
the rest
he
of
wasn't talking about the Promised Land all episode.
Which
Also
why he
good.
wasn't, yes.
Yeah, all he
Well,
had
he did
was
have
basi-
his memories erased, though.
yeah, That's what I mean by
Maybe-
he has a head deck. His brain, part of his brain has been replaced by a computer.
Maybe almost all of it. We're not entirely sure. But a good chunk of it is.
But if you know cyberpunk genre, that's a very common thing to do in that, because you can increase the amount of data storage, you can do direct data transfers, and he was a hacker.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense. He's kind of Johnny Mnemonic-ish in a way.
By the way, I love the fact that he had a USB his head to a wall outlet for a few minutes.
That was beautiful. And Cybra, while yes, she's a shapeshifter, her main thing is she wants to be normal. She kind of has roguism.
Yes.
Everything she touches, she assumes the shape of, and she has no control over it.
I
So
wish
because
that
of
was
that-
taken to a more extreme, though. I really wish it was. Like, when I read the script, it said that when Clara looks up at her, she sees the head of the worm, and I was expecting a full facial change for her, and I was kind of disappointed that it was just a few little knobbly bits kind of poking out from her cheeks.
Well, her head was completely distorted, really.
Not really.
I
Like,
had
it
to
wasn't
I
distorted
re-saw that
enough.
today.
I was expecting an actual face of the worm, the entire head of the worm, to show up on her shoulders.
And I would argue that's the problem with Rena's script, which has unlimited imagination, and then having to actually put that under a budget.
I don't think that it would have been that hard. Like, all you would need is to Photoshop the face of the worm onto her head and shoulders. You would even just need like a quick flickering cut scene is what I was expecting. I was not expecting, like full CGI or anything like that.
They
full
do,
CGI
though,
transformation.
Aaron.
Huh?
However, the producers of the show do expect it to be CGI, and they went, no, we can't
Well,
go
I
quite
think
that
that's
far.
a bit silly. I mean, it's cheaper this way.
It
Noticeably cheaper, honestly.
It probably did a series of cuts with it like 100% worm to whatever it is, and the director chose which one he liked.
That's also a possibility.
Because they also had X amount of time on which to have her go from whatever it is to normal.
Yeah, because
To fit the timing of the episode.
Remind me, did they ever touch anybody? Or did she only talk about
she
what would
touched
happen?
Clara.
And assumed Clara. And I thought, and I didn't see this in the final one, there was a point that she touched the doctor.
I don't think so. Not in the episode, no.
Not in the episode, in the script. I
Couldn't
thought
tell
there
you.
was.
It would have been. I mean, and I think it would have been a good idea if she had during the scene when she was talking about someone looking at you with your own eyes, and it would have fit the story as well. It would have been good foreshadowing.
I thought it was in the script, and I didn't see it in the episode. That was really the only change I saw. That was probably a scene that was dropped for time.
Yeah, most likely.
And it was actually brought up after she's taken the solvent, and she touches the doctor, and she says, "Look, I'm touching it. I'm not you again."
Mm-hmm.
So now that you mention it, they did kind of reference it.
Unless it's just an instance of the director screwed up and missed a line in the script and forgot to change her.
I think so. I think
That could be
that
possible,
was a deleted scene.
It was either a deleted scene or they forgot to edit it.
Because
Either way.
the scene happened, like the dialogue of the scene happened. I'm like, unless it was a different scene, but I'm like, the dialogue of a scene where it would have made sense for that to happen happened, so it didn't completely delete it, unless for whatever reason they had a problem. Unless, as you were talking about the CGI and whatever, unless they had a problem with the effect and just decided to have her use that ability as rarely as possible, which would tie into, my kind of complaint earlier as well.
It's possible. And like I said, she came off as a bit of a wallflower, which if
Well,
you
speaking of her, I have to say, since when are the X-Men in Doctor Who?
mind you, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I
did
do,
like
but at
it.
the same time, it felt kind of out of left field.
Well, you think about, especially David Tennant's speeches in like New Earth about the human race, and I think one in like Utopia. where he
And again,
talks
I
about,
can assume this is probably the 51st century, so this was around the time where, people have pheromone powers to attract anyone they want to, in the case of Captain Jack. But
what he talks about how much that the human race changes and then eventually goes back to the original form. So yes, there should be mutants. I will admit this is more X-Men-y than I would have expected, but at the same time, being an X-Men fan, I was just kind of grinning at that.
Yeah.
yeah.
It was X-Men, we had Cyberpunk. I'm like, did somebody read my favorites list?
Let's see. We'll take a little pinch of X-Men. We'll take a little pinch of Cyberpunk. We'll take a whole dose of Ocean's 11. And a little bit of Mission
Star
Impossible.
Wars.
Yeah. Let's mix that all up, baby, and put it in Doctor Who.
It was
Too bad it didn't run a little bit longer. We could have had a Reservoir Dogs plot.
I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to see this Doctor with a gun. That makes me a little nervous.
I'm hoping
The doctor would be Mr. Pink.
I am hoping that these are not one-off characters and that we do see them.
Oh yes, I really do hope we get to see these guys.
I actually hope that about Journey Blue too. By the way, Aaron.
A little bit of Journey
I
Blue,
hope so
but
too, because I kind
I think
of miss her.
these two, I really like to see back.
It would be pretty cool.
And I'm pretty sure that we'll see Robin Hood again at some point.
Oh yeah, he was too
I
fancy to be forgotten.
I like all of the I like a lot of the characters here. Like a lot of our side characters that we've been having this season. I think
Ironically, I like a lot of them more than I like Danny Pink thus far.
Yeah, which is the season-long side character.
I'm
Yeah,
not
and-
really
but
looking forward to
because
him.
he's another character who all of his dialogue is written by one guy.
And
Yeah.
it's all stilted and awkward because Moffat, whenever he writes a guy in a relationship, makes it stilted and awkward.
Well, like I said, the first time we were introduced to Danny Pink, and this was me reading the script and watching the episode, it's like, oh, we have a new Mickey. And yeah, I'm not out of that phase yet with Danny. He's still basically a XP of Mickey Smith to me.
He's just Mickey Smith without actually knowing that the Doctor's around.
He's Mickey Smith gone through the military.
Well, really, to see his Mickeyness, we have to see how he reacts to the Doctor. But then
Yes.
again, there's also
Yeah.
the fact that Clara's relationship with the Doctor is completely different than Rose's was, so even that wouldn't really be a good comparison.
No, but he's still kind of that same kind of, I don't really care about him feeling. But a lot of these characters I think are cool. I especially like these two better than I like our main reoccurring characters of Vastra, Jenny, and Strax.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I do like these better than
I like
Vastra, Jenny, and
Jenny, and
Strax.
Strax.
They don't get me wrong.
As long
Those
as they're
three,
not
All
overused.
those
three might be because they're overused, but also I think that they have their really high highs and their really low lows.
My main issue, Vastra is a vehicle for Moffat to insert his Sherlock Holmes writing into Doctor Who.
That too.
also like an alien dinosaur ninja. Not alien, I meant to say lizard. But
And Strax is a one-joke character whose joke has gone on too far.
yeah, Strax is being Flanderized.
Yeah.
He's an okay character, but it goes too far with...
They need to go through some serious character development for
What
him.
they really need to do,
Strax
they really
was-
need to have an episode where Strax is in his own element, as a fighter,
Mhm.
to really, bring back what he's supposed to be.
And
Sort of
every
how
time,
Mickey had to
we've
really
seen
be a
Strax
serious
in a
actor.
combat situation,
One at a time.
Sorry. Every time we've seen Strax in a combat situation thus far, he's been relatively bumbling.
Yeah, it's mostly been farce.
Yeah, and that's
And Good Man Goes to War, he had a clue.
Snowman.
well.
He didn't get the chance to really fight, but he definitely gave us strategic advice to the Doctor, which he
I'm
was
not
actually
talking
happy
about
for.
that. Look at Deep Breath. where you see Vastra and Jenny do this rolling glide down into there, and Strax just falls down on his ass.
True.
You know, for a military-trained Santaran, you'd think he would be able to take a fall.
He's a failure of a Santaran, though.
That's
He's
right. That's
failed.
also true.
That's
Or the
that's
part-
why
Or
it's
the part
funny.
where they're all trying to hold their breath, and his answer is, okay, the best way I can hold my breath is to kill myself.
Exactly.
What?
That's what he does. That's what the Santarans do.
No, a Santaran, if he couldn't hold his breath, he'd go out shooting.
True.
Yes, he would.
Again.
But then
this
again, he is
Strax,
again a
and
failed
Strax is a
You know what that
Santaran.
makes Strax? It makes him Gilligan.
Yeah. He's
he is the
stupid.
Gilligan.
And if you
And I
hate-
get sick of Gilligan after the 3rd episode of Gilligan's Island.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
I want him
Randy,
to
but he
kill
is the Gilligan
Gilligan.
of his race.
Well, exactly. That's why they told him to be a nurse. Again,
But-
he's his whole thing is that he's a failure. He needs, find something
Yes.
else to do with his life.
But what I'm saying is that joke has gone on too long now. They
Yeah.
need some development with him and get him.
And even then, if he's going to be a failure as a fighter, yeah, he should really have his moment where he becomes something else.
He's successful as a servant.
He's successful as a servant. He's also successful at
successful
giving
as a
military
nurse.
advice. He's just not a fighter.
If I could choose any fictional butler, Strax is the one I would never pick.
Yeah.
Like, here, have some water. I just finished bathing in it. He's not a successful servant.
He
I,
just
I'm
wants to
sorry,
help.
Alfred. He
He's just
isn't.
very stupid at it.
Now, if they had bigged up the nurse thing and made him do first aid for Scotland Yard and complain about it the whole time, I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, and instead, his idea of medical, he's basically become Zoidberg.
Maybe it's one too many people trying to write for him.
That also could be
He's
very much
only
a
ever been
possible
written
problem.
by Moffat.
1.5 people. I
One
can't
and a half.
count Gaddis as a separate. I can't count Gaddis as Moffat, but I can't count him as a separate person either. So he's a half.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking Gaddis is a future regeneration of Moffat.
Oh my.
Poor
Yeah.
Gaddis.
I have a cat. Don't know why I have a
Okay.
cat. She pushed open the door somehow.
But no, Science and Cybra I liked. What did you guys think of the Teller?
The teller was interesting. We didn't get to see too much of it, but I would also add actually that he's not a 3D effect. He's actually a fully animatronic suit.
Nice.
Probably.
I
a blend-
actually
probably
heard
a
people
blend
talking
of,
about his
uh,
development behind the scenes, and even the eye movement and everything was actually part of the animatronics
Well, the eye movement is what reminded me of the Kodans from
from Star Wars. Yeah,
Last Starfighter, because
Oh,
the
the
gunner
Kodans,
in
yeah.
particular had eye stalks that were kind of like that too. But
little
he
bit.
looks more like a Star Wars creature.
and he
Yeah,
does
he
resemble
does.
a little bit of one of the creatures from the bar. Yes, I can't think of his name. He got an action figure. I know that for a fact. I actually had it.
But yeah, it looked odd when you see it because you don't usually see that extremes in Doctor Who.
Yeah, and I would add probably the reason why we don't see many other effects is because they had to put all the money into that suit, and you had to make two
Probably.
of them.
So I don't know if that means we're going to see more of the Teller's race
Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to
because
see.
Well,
after all they put a huge amount of money into that suit.
Yes.
They did bring the teller to an unpopulated promised land.
And they are letting
Let's
him
not
continue
use
to
that
breed
term,
there,
Bill,
but
because
that's
the
not it.
Promised Land. Let's not hope that's not let's hope that's not the Nether Sphere, because no. I'm hoping they'll be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe seeing more of them would be a nice thing. Maybe a couple of them will actually know of the legend of the man that saved them.
Yes.
They'll be the new
I'm-
Jadoon or the new Ood.
I'm kind of wondering if Kyra Braxos will appear again. I mean, I'm guessing that the point of that's the big question mark of this episode. But I think the whole point is as she got old, she regretted killing the last of the species, or unintentionally causing the death of the last of the species, and called up the doctor. That's not really spelled out, but that's okay. But I still would kind of like to see more of her going from the character we see to the character that would call the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then again, as you get old, I think it was Bill Cosby that put it, when you get old, you start worrying about what's going to happen to your soul when you die. You start to try to hedge your bets on getting into heaven, so to speak. So maybe she was trying to earn her way into the promised land.
Maybe. Interesting twist.
Maybe. We should probably hit final thoughts in about 5 to 10 minutes or so. Does anybody have anything?
Actually,
we got about 15 minutes.
We have technically about half an hour, actually, but yeah, we should probably get to
Yeah,
that
we have half
eventually.
an hour total, but we usually put
do final
about
thoughts
20 minutes for
about 50,
final thoughts and ratings, and
15
I'd like us
usually, Bill.
About 15 usually, yeah.
I'd also like to take the last 10 minutes to rank the season so far, because it's something we haven't done yet this season.
Oh, true. Okay, yeah, we can probably do it a little early then, so we can go through that.
Okay. Well, then we have another 10 at least. Anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Usually our last pre-final thoughts things can take any amount of time. So
Okay, then I do have something I want to talk about.
Okay, doke.
As I mentioned, this is also another bootstrap paradox.
Oh, yes.
Except I've actually thought of a way out of this box. And that is the first time around the loop may not necessarily have been what happened the second, third, fourth times around the loop, which we saw.
Yeah.
And that is the fact that you remember that Director Karabraxos is a person that had a lot of resources.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, she may have spent a good chunk of those resources to obtain the number of the doctor. To call the doctor, get the doctor to do this for her, as the famous time traveler. The doctor comes through, realizes that he set himself up for this, and gives her her phone number, making it easier for her to contact him when she wanted him, therefore making the loop easier and permanentizing it. He indirectly made it easier for it to be in a loop.
Quite possibly.
So it's a bootstrap paradox that may have a beginning. This is speculation on my part. I just like it better, the fact that I can possibly see a beginning.
Right.
Which is important for you, but not necessarily for everybody. But it's nice that you can see it.
Just making sure, because those of us that actually do like to have cause and effect.
Cause and effect are good things to have.
Yes. It's better to have the cause first.
So, okay, so I've mentioned that. We can move on to any other part. Anybody else have anything else they want to say about this episode?
Oh, actually, one other thing I wanted to mention. That whole thing where he was going through bank robbers and stuff. Have you noticed how many different faces we know from that list?
No.
Oh, I believe one of them on the list was the robotic guy from a town called Mercy.
Okay.
Was on that list. There is Sylvine on that list. I'm trying to remember all of them, but there's just like a dozen faces that looked either very familiar or definitely have appeared before on the show. Actually, here's a couple of them right here. Oh, wow.
Okay, so it was a Sensorite, a Terrapeptile, a Sylvine, an Ice Warrior, the Gunslinger, Captain John Hart from Torchwood,
Nice.
Anthrax and the Trickster from the Sarah Jane Adventures, and Absalom Dak from Doctor Who magazine.
I heard people talking about the Absalom Dak reference, but I didn't know where it was.
So there's also another one from the first Doctor. I can't think of their names. They got the big head?
That's the Sensorite.
The Sensorite, okay.
Yep.
But yeah,
Sensorite from the Sensorites, Terrapeptile, or from 64 serial, the Sensorites, Pteropeptile from the 82 serial Visitation, and then a Slovene, an Ice Warrior, and the Gunslinger from the town called Mercy. Captain John Hart from Torchwood. Second season of Torchwood, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then Androvax and the Trickster were from various episodes of the Sarah Jane Adventures. And then the Absalom Dak reference. So yeah, they were all
from, I believe, only Dalek comics in the 70s and 60s, 70s, and 80s ish. That's a long period to say ish, but I'm not entirely certain what years.
From the look of the picture, I would probably say something close to the early 80s, late 70s. Not quite Dark Age of Comics, but definitely a little bit more refined art than the early 70s. Do you want a picture?
I'm actually looking up the...
Because actually I have a picture here with about, I believe, 8 of them.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to see that.
Okay, so actually, zoom back out, view image. Oh, helps when I zoom up properly. There we go. It's a little washed out, but there they be. A good chunk of them. And I also like the fact that they're also holding up like alien signs and stuff too. Or at least most of them are.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't hold up something, they're having something strapped around their neck to hold it.
See, and this is where, hold on, I need a name. Just finish my
there's
sentence.
John Hart, number 3. Slovene is the bottom right. Absalom Dak must be the upper right.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Pteropeptile is the lower center. Trickster is the lower left.
Mm-hmm. Or lower right, you mean?
Yeah, lower right. Sensorite, is that the second one?
Yep.
Okay.
Honestly, if this is one thing where if I would have had like I would have had like Chris Pratt standing up there with a sign, just as a nod to those in the audience who would recognize him without actually breaking any copyrights. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, Chris Pratt played Peter Quill in Guardians of the Galaxy this year.
I don't know. They already have Spike the Vampire in there.
Yes, but he's not appearing as Spike. He's clearly John Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's still
if he was
Spike
wearing
the
a leather jacket.
And if his hair was bleached blonde?
True.
Actually, no. What would have been more hilarious is if they could legally somehow squeeze in a little quick clip with Rocket Raccoon holding up a sign.
That would have been funnier.
Yeah, but you would have had to go a little harder not to break any copyrights there.
It would be hard, but you know what? It would be still funny. Especially if they also could see like the elbow or something of Groot next to him.
Okay. So, I guess on that bombshell, we will go to final thoughts. And as usual, I will do final thoughts in the order that they are on my Skype window. And I will start the ball with Tim.
I loved this episode. It had good action scenes, good shots, good characters. I love the characters. Nice surprises, and it had a happy ending, which I'm always for.
Yeah, you don't always get those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Tim?
I just wanted to say that I've noticed a trend where this Doctor is sort of good at the be back in time for afternoon tea thing with the whole time machine. Because, it's like, let's have an
Unless you ask him
adventure.
to get coffee.
Yeah. Let's have an adventure, you'll be back in time for your date. Whereas if it was Matt Smith or David Tennant, it is like it would have overshot by like a year. Like, you've been gone for a year,
That would have been excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Or late by
Yeah.
5 minutes, or something. Just slightly
Yeah.
off.
He seems to have better luck at steering the TARDIS now.
Mm-hmm.
Now that he remembers how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Tim?
That's it.
Aaron?
I really enjoyed this episode too, for a lot of the same reasons that Tim stated. I also really like the side characters are pretty cool. I like to see or hear more about them. Although I don't know, I kind of feel kind of disappointed in that a lot of Doctor Who you never get to see a lot of follow up on this kind of stuff, except for maybe New Earth and maybe a few of the other stories too with the cat people and whatnot.
Or fan-based stuff, too.
Or fan base stuff, yeah. I mean, I guess I don't really know much about the radio dramas, so maybe their fault. Maybe they delve into a little bit more on
Not
everything.
currently,
It's
unless they get the
just-
rights every once in a while.
But I guess that's kind of the cost of like writing time travel, time and dimensional travel, and that it's very hard to have a full-fledged continuity because everything's constantly changing. Let me see here. I like the plot. I like the fact that it did have a happy ending. Like, I seriously thought that they were being shredded. You know, I thought they were being destroyed. And then all of a sudden they pop up. This was one of the scripts that I had, but I did not get a chance to read it through all the way.
Mm.
So, yeah, it was actually kind of a pleasant surprise at the end to see that everyone was still alive and fairly happy and everything. So, I liked it.
Okay.
That's it for me.
All right, Matt?
Oh my god, this is the greatest episode of this season so far. I really like the fact that they pull a kind of a mystery number on this one, along with the whole breaking into a bank thing. Also the fact that everything was pre-planned to actually not kill people, which is definitely a good marquee of the Doctor. Is that if he gets a chance to plan, he plans for everything. I really like the side characters. I think even though we've had some decent ones already this year, these two in particular really stand out for me right now. I would like to definitely see more of these two. Pretty please with sugar on top. Moffat, if you ever do anything right by me, this is it. I guess that's about it.
All right, Bill?
This is one of those episodes where my brain does strange things because it's just good enough that what my brain narrows in on is the things, that it doesn't blow me away. Like, really enjoyed the writing, but it misses that thing to become an instant classic. It looked good, but there are things I would have done better to the point where it's almost like my brain tries to trick me into considering it less than it is, which means, of course, that it is really good. And it definitely is probably, one of the top episodes I've seen in the past year.
Anything else, Bill?
I think that's about it.
Yep. Okay, as I said, this was my favorite of the 5 leaked scripts. And the episode itself is not quite as good as the script, but not by much. It still has a lot of the things that I liked about this. When I read the script, for the first half of the script, I was angry. I was like, how dare they have the Doctor rob a bank? And he's so callous about the fact that he's giving people suicide things. And then you hit the end and the realization, and you're like, oh my God, it all makes sense now. It's all perfect. It's absolutely perfect. The Doctor's reaction to finding out that Cy and Cybro are alive is just, it's better in the script even because he's showing, pleasure, excitement. He breaks that jaded shell that the 12th Doctor seems to have most of the time.
Yeah, he did break down for a few moments.
And shows downright glee, and it's understated a little more in the episode than it was in the script. But it's still, it's this beautiful thing that the Doctor is actually trying to rescue these the species.
Actually, I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but you kind of brought something up in my head. I'll mention it later.
Okay. But that he's gone through and he's rescuing this, and it feels absolutely beautiful because to me it suddenly clicked, and it's like, yes, this is what the Doctor should be doing. This is what we haven't been seeing, and he's doing it now, and it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I suddenly went from hating this script to loving every moment of it. And I feel the same way about the episode. I love it now. I will watch this episode repeatedly with a grin on my face.
It's definitely going to be a really good episode to get people back on the show again, probably.
Okay, ratings, Tim.
Oh, Billy, you had something to say?
Yes. Speaking of things that are downplayed, if we really look at the fact that the Doctor assembled this team, that means that he personally picked out two people who had most need of the specific things that were available in that, or actually, you could kind of say the time. Well, at some point, the Doctor is probably the one who picked that team, unless we say that it was Kyra Braxos that did it. But
No, he was very clearly going through a list of people, and we did see these two slide by as he was looking through them.
So yeah, so that means that he specifically, not only did he set out to save, the Teller's species, but he specifically found these two people that he knew could benefit from this, that he went to. And it's, on one hand, it shows the cunning planning that we would have seen in, the chess master persona of the 7th and onward Doctors, while at the same time it's not as, it's not as dark. He really is going to help these two rather than using them as pawns for his real goal.
Also, he apparently was studying them enough, knows that these two would be perfect for the plan.
Yeah, this is 2 episodes after saying I'm not a hero, and really...
Role reversal.
Yeah, he's really pulling off the hero marks in this one. Okay, rating. Tim, you know the drill.
5. I'm giving it 5 stars. I loved it.
Aaron.
I'm gonna have to give it 5 stars.
Oh gosh, now I need to think what I wanted to do. I'm definitely really high up there.
I was gonna go with 4.5, but I think Tim convinced me it was worth 5.
You know what? Despite the faults of mostly budget that held this one back a little bit, yeah, 5. This is probably the best thing we've seen in a very long time from this show, other than Day of the Doctor.
Bill.
I kind of feel this is missing that little something that would make it a 5, but I do still feel that it's very close, and I have no reason not to give it a 4.5.
That was my other in between.
I have to stand with Bill on this. I still think Day of the Doctor is better than this episode.
I'm not saying this is better than Day of the Doctor. I'm saying it's pretty much almost equal quality.
If that's going to be your standard, there's not going to be a lot of 5s in the future.
Well, for me, it's like being an Olympic judge. Once you've given out the 4, once you've given out the 10, you still have to, it has to be on that same par to receive a 10. So I'm going to have to give this a 4.5.
So that puts us at a total of 4.8 with 3 5s and 2 4.5s.
Which makes this easily the best episode this season.
Thus far, yes.
Yeah. We can probably say the best episode this season.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know exactly what we're going to be seeing in the next couple episodes.
No, but I mean thus far.
Yeah. But yeah, thus far, yes.
Because I don't think anything else has gotten above a 4.2.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't think anything really averaged above a 4 since before this.
Okay.
I think didn't Tim give a 5 to Into the Dalek, and that kind of raised it almost above a 4, I thought.
So I thought the highest before this was a 3.9, but I might be mistaken.
Yeah, well,
that's right. You wanted to do those numbers really quick.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Speaking of which, we've got 10 minutes. We should probably each go through. It would be a good time to each go through. Last season, I think, or at least with 7A, I think, with each episode, we gave our, where we felt it lay in the season, and that kind of fell away for 7B, and we haven't really done it since. But as we're 5 episodes in, we're past most of the spoilers that we had been aware of. Now would be a good time, I think, for all of us to go through and rate each episode in terms of, we have 5 episodes, essentially, which is the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth of those so far. We should probably go in the same order that we've been. So how about we start with Tim?
So, we're ranking the episodes?
Yes. So the 5 episodes of Series 8 so far. What was your favorite, second favorite, third favorite, fourth, and then least favorite so far?
Well, I'd say Time Heist is my favorite so far, followed by Into the Dalek. Excuse me. Dalek. Listen would be my least favorite. Then, oh, I'm terrible. What was the name of the premiere with the dinosaur?
Deep Breath.
Deep Breath.
Deep Breath. Oh, of course. I'm so sorry. I hang my head in shame. So it would be Time Heist, Into the Dalek, Deep Breath, Listen.
You missed Robot of Sherwood.
Yeah.
Where's my mind? Robot of Sherwood would be my second favorite.
Okay.
So it would be Time Heist, Robot of Sherwood, Into the Dalek, Deep Breath, Listen.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. That would put Aaron next, I believe.
All right. My favorite would be Time Heist, followed by Listen, followed by Robot of Sherwood, followed by Deep Breath, and then my least favorite would probably be, well, no, it would probably be Into the Dalek, and then Deep Breath would probably be my least favorite.
This from the person who likes Jenny Vastra and Strax.
I know. It's just, there's other things. I also really like Journey Blue. Super liked her, actually. I kind of wish that she had stayed on as a companion, but we can't have these things.
Okay, Matt.
I don't know. Blue just kind of came off as, to me, as generic, but maybe we just didn't have enough time with her. But anyway, the ordered list. Like everyone else, Time Heist is definitely first. Trying to think after that. Thinking, processing. To say if we dropped half the show, Sherwood would act. Robot of Sherwood would have been better, but so yeah, Time Heist, Robots of Sherwood, Into the Dalek. Three. What am I missing here? There's Deep Breath and then Deep Breath and then Listen.
Okay, Bill, do you want to go next, or do you want me to rate mine before you do yours?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So I would actually, my picks end up mirroring Tim, which kind of surprised me. But I would say Time Heist, Robot of Sherwood, Into the Dalek, Deep Breath, and then Listen.
Yeah, mine are almost the same, except I've got two transposed. Stephen Thompson's Time Heist takes the top billing, of course, but my second place is Phil Ford's Into the Dalek, followed by Mark Gaddis's Robot of Sherwood. I would like to state that as of reading the scripts, Robot of Sherwood was actually lower, but the actual airing of it brought it up to third.
Mm.
And then Moffat's Deep Breath takes fourth place for me, and Listen takes fifth, because it's the only one that actually pissed me off.
Oh yeah, it aggravated me a bit too when it finally hit the end. That was a what the hell are you doing moment.
Well, it was bewildering me for most of it, and then pissed me off.
And I'm sorry, Matt. For whatever reason, I didn't catch the right order for all of yours. Could you just hit yours one more time, please?
I think it was the same as yours.
Was it?
Heist, Robot, Dalek, Deep Breath, Listen.
So three
Okay.
people had that order,
Yeah.
and then
So that means that pretty much is our average. I'm just trying to see if there are any major outliers that change anything. Erin is pretty much the outlier in most of this, but I don't
Because
think
she
she
actually
really
likes
sways
Listen.
things enough.
She likes Listen.
I'm
The
an
thing is-
artist. What can I say? The more enigmatic it is, the better it has to be, right?
Ugh.
I would probably need to sit down and apply numbers to these, but with four of us put Listen at the bottom, with Erin putting in second place, At the best, it would be in 4th place, but Deep Breath is pretty much stuck there, unless Deep Breath goes to bottom if Aaron is enough of an outlier to move it up. Time Heist is pretty clear in being the number 1 as being the pick for all 5 of us.
Oh yeah, that's like way ahead of everybody else.
Robot of Sherwood is pretty much undisputed as number 2, even if Randy disagrees slightly and Aaron disagrees slightly, but they're slight enough that the other things aren't going to
unbalanced.
There's
weigh it
5
down
of
enough.
us, right? There's
Yeah.
5 of us, right? So Time
Yeah.
Heist got 25 points of it being everybody giving it 5 if you're rating them 5 points to 5, etc.
Yeah, you can. That's a good. Yeah, I was thinking.
Okay,
I just
so
wasn't sure if we'd
listen.
have time for that. Yeah.
3 of us gave it 1 point, and Aaron gave it 3 points. So, or 4 of us gave it 1
Six.
point. Aaron gave it 3 points. So, Listen would get 7 points.
No, Aaron gave it 4 points then.
Aaron gave
'cause it
4
was
points. It was in
number
4th
2,
place.
yeah.
So 8 points.
Should be,
4,
yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. It's the other things that are going to be getting confused.
So let's see.
Aaron
If we
gave
got Robot.
Deep Breath
We had
1 point, and everybody else gave it 2, I think.
Yeah.
you
2.
said Deep Breath. Yeah.
Yeah, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9. Deep Breath is 9 points.
Yeah. See, Into the Dalek has 3, 2, 3, 3, 4. That's
3, 5,
13,
11,
15.
15.
Which Robot of Sherwood has 4, 3, 4, 4, 3.
4,
That's
7, 11,
18.
15, 18.
So that means our finals are Time Heist as the top, Robot of Sherwood as the second, Into the Dalek as the third, Deep Breath, and Listen. So it's the
It's still-
the
it's still
majority,
the majority.
ends up ruling with those.
Huh.
I'm sorry, but you're all incorrect because Into the Dalek was better than Robot. Just saying.
I'm saying that I can easily forget the other half of robots.
I enjoyed Robot more than I did Into the Dalek.
And with that, good night, everybody.
Yep.
Good night.
Next week we get the return of what's his name? Starts with a G.
I was gonna
You got-
say Danny Pink.
No,
I
no,
don't remember him all
the
that well either.
writer. The
Gaddis?
lodger guy.
Mark Gaddis.
No, is it? Good God.
Everyone mentally hemorrhages. I can't remember writer names either,
And
so.
The lodger. Yeah, typing that into Google is not. Actually, it came up on Wikipedia first, so apparently the lodger people, Google knows what you're talking about. Gareth Roberts. There we go. I knew it was
Okay.
Gareth something. Or I thought it was
Gareth
Gareth
Roberts
something
did the
anyway.
next one?
Yes.
Okay.
Him and Moffat.
Okay,
Quote,
so this is
Moffat.
another Moffat co-brand.
Yes.
I actually thought that Moffat just did the next one, but
Apparently not.
apparently we don't have a Moffat now until the finale.
Yeah, so what we have, basically what we've had is a whole bunch of Doctor Who veterans for writing, many of them with Moffat, and then we've got like 3 or 4 Doctor Who newbies without Moffat.
We've got
Based
Gareth
on the
Roberts,
description
Peter
of Diane.
Harness, Jamie Matheson again, Frank Cottrell Boyce, and then a 2-part Moffat at the end. And
Yeah.
probably the 2 Jamies are a 2-parter.
Maybe. Or at the very least, very closely grouped together.
I'm trying. Which ones were they?
Mummy on the Orient Express and Flatline.
I
Although they're
doubt there are
directed by 2 different people.
Yeah, I doubt a 2-parter, but they might be thematically linked.
Yeah, they might be thematically linked between their middle and end. I mean, their end and beginning. Blah. I speaks the English. Good night.
All right,
Okay.
good night, everyone. We'll see you probably same time next week. Just keep an eye on the Twitters and such, and we'll let you know if anything changes.
All right. And on that bombshell, we end with no bombshell.
Zing.